Yes, there we go. There we go, people. Sunday evening, as we do. So, let's get a few people locked in, and we see how this goes. AJ Usyk, heard Eddie Hearn tease an announcement this week. And obviously, we got to talk about Haney Kambosos, because I don't think we got much of a chance to talk about it too much last night, because it was pretty fucking... I was tired, believe me. And believe me, I still am a bit kind of ill today. So get a few people in here. Big up to Ali Drew every time. Hey G-Man, big up. Even to Ben, shout out to you, my man. How are you keeping? Oops, someone says. All right. What's taking so long? We're live, man. We're live. We're good to go. We're in the building. Big up to E-Machine. How are you, my man? G-Men's. Big up. Big up to Ribena. Man, it's not the Ribena. I still have it saved from last night. Dunn Store's Finest. There you go. Cranberry juice. How you doing? What do you got to say about that? How you doing? A shout out to Postman Pat every single time. Big up to you, man. Prav, shout out to G-Man Box. And where's the piss bottle? It's over there. That intro. Best £5 I ever spent. Best £5 I ever spent was getting that piss bottle intro. Literally. Still to this day. People still text me on people text me on Twitter and they message me on some of their videos. Just where's the piss bottle? Nothing else. Just where's the piss bottle? And it's always over there. Big up to John, Evening G-Man. Big up to you, man. How are you doing? Hope you're all keeping well. Jay Jr. says, G-Man, loved your Donaire Inoue analysis video. Yeah, I enjoy doing it, mate, to be honest with you. I actually prefer doing them like that now. They just take a lot longer to do. And you obviously got to be careful. I always have to run a test version of that, because you never know when you're putting footage in. You never know with copyrights what might happen. But I think we're pretty much good with that now. I think I found out how to get around that. Obviously, when I did the documentary, me and Dan, my editor, we were going in kind of blind as to how much footage we could get away with putting in. And we found out which companies are kind of okay with it. The Zone don't really give a crap. If you put the Zone literally could give less of a you-know-what. They're actually quite good. Same with Top Rank. Same with HBO and people like that. It was Sky who were a bit, and then it was Showtime weren't playing. I mean, they weren't playing. They're one of them. And I actually thought Showtime was. I remember a couple of years ago when Wilder fought Brazil, I did a post-fight review for that, and they actually struck it for copyright, even though it didn't have any footage at all. I was still using. I still wasn't even on camera at the time, and it was literally just clips of Dublin, as you know. I used to put in the videos, so. Yeah, they don't play around. Salute from Laredo, Texas. Big up the streets of Laredo. Anyone remember that song? I remember in school they taught us that song. Shakur or Haney? That's a good question. That's a very, very good question. And I'm probably going to raise a few eyebrows with this, right? As good as Devin is, I think Shakur's better. And I think Shakur beats him. I really do. Shakur... I wonder, is he going to stick around at 130 pounds and maybe just look to take on Cordina? Because, look, Cordina had a great win last night, and credit to him, it was a good knockout. But I can't see him beating Shakur. So I can't see anyone at 130 beating Shakur, to be honest with you. So maybe he'll look to unify. Maybe he'll look to go straight up. If he could get a straight crack at Devin Haney, he'd move up. But I have a funny feeling Bob Arum is going to look to do Lomachenko versus Haney next. Because I can't see Kambosos taking that rematch. Because it's not like Kambosos was in the fight. He has the rematch there, but this isn't... It's not like he was in the fight and the judges gave him a bit of saving grace that they did Canelo, where they had a razor close fight. It wasn't like that. I'm surprised the judges had it as close as they did. Two judges had it 116, 112. I think I had it 119, 109. So... I'd be very surprised if Kambosos takes a rematch. I don't see how he beats Devin Haney. I think Devin Haney is just a superior fighter. in every aspect. I think that even if we got a better or if we got a better Kambosos, it really, to me, wouldn't make a difference. I think Devin Haney is always going to beat him. Best intro to this day. Yeah, it is. It's a good intro. I think Haney would give Loma issues. He struggled a bit with Campbell's height and reach. Haney's a better boxer than Campbell. I still have Loma beating Haney, though. Of course, I have him as well, but I see exactly where you're coming from. It's a very tough fight for Lomachenko. I think that Lomachenko was much better than Kambosos at getting inside. He can definitely do a lot more work on the inside. He can definitely, with his footwork, he'll be able to get inside and do a lot of good work on Devin Haney. Make no mistake about that. And Devin Haney isn't the puncher Teofimo Lopez is. So Lomachenko, I don't think he'd have reservations about like taking a few risks or two, you know, because Kambosos took some right hands and they were fine. He was fine with them. Yes, where's the piss bottle? There you go. You know, that is Dunn Stores. Always better value. Shakur isn't as boring as Haney. Yeah, Shakur is a lot more entertaining. Neither are really big punchers, to be fair. I think Shakur has probably pound for pound would hit harder. Pick up to MVG. Who do you think LG, man? Do you think AJ will be heavier? Yes, I do. And I think that's going to be his detriment. I think if he wants to attack Usyk, he needs to weigh similar to what he weighed in the first fight. If he's going to go, and I think he needs to, if he's going to go all out attack, add an extra weight. Because here's the thing, right? We've seen, this isn't like Tyson Fury, where we kind of thought, okay, he's putting on extra weight. We don't think it'd be. We've seen AJ in the high 240s, low 250s, and mid 250s in some points, and he's not looked good. So we can actually look at AJ and say, well, you haven't looked good when you've weighed that much, but you have looked good when you've weighed in the low 240s. So I fully believe that that's his best weight. You know, a lot of heavyweights do tend to have an optimum fighting weight, and I think that will be his best. So I hope he comes in light, but or normal, but I reckon he's going to come in heavier. And again, like AJ stamina even at 240 isn't amazing, so it's going to be a tough ass. Shakur is more likable than Haney as well. For sure, like I don't particularly like Devin Haney as a person, but as a fighter, he's tremendous. I was really pumped up for Haney Kambosos. I thought it would be far more competitive, fair play to Haney. So did I, mate. So did I. I did think, I said it before, that Devin Haney would always win. I picked that, but I thought it was going to be a close decision. I was thinking split. I really thought it would be a split decision win for Kambosos in a close fight. Big up to Karma. Get you like Karma there for a sec. Sorry. Big up to Karma. I kind of agree, G-Man. Shakur does everything just a little bit better. And you see the sparring footage of them when they were younger. And Shakur, you see, Devin is a great fighter. We take nothing away from Devin. He's a tremendous fighter. He's very talented. He's a great boxer. But I just think that Devin is getting closer to his peak, whereas Shakur still has so much more to add. He really does. He has so much more to add. Haney will take some beating with that reach, footwork, and distance, boxing IQ, and great defense. I agree with you there. I think that for a lot of these guys, the guys like Shakur, guys like Devin, it's going to take really going up to, probably in Devin's case, 147, because I think even at 140, he'll still... Don't underestimate what the attributes you have there: good footwork, reach, jab, and distance control. That can take you so many. You don't have to be a big puncher. If you can keep them guys on the end of a jab and you have good defense, that's all you need. I live in London, and Jubilee weekend is doing my head in. Great to have some boxing chats. Yeah, I can only imagine, mate. I can only imagine. Do you see? Yeah, I do. I'm sure if he gets the Loma fight, he'll stay around at 135, but I could definitely see his future laying at 140 and above. Big Tony's rocket. Where's the piss bottle? Showed everyone where the piss bottle is. I said he wants to become undisputed. He'll become undisputed. That of which I've no doubt. He'll become undisputed at 135 or 130. He will. The networks won't want the rematch. No. And I guess there has to be that as well, because obviously, like, even if there's a rematch clause, the networks at the end of the day, do they want to put it on? And it's not like this fight was a war. It could have gone either way. It was a shutout in many ways. I gave Kambosos 1 round. Will be extremely. It won't be. They won't sell that rematch. Top of the evening, you find Sword Son. Yes. Yeah, Swords is a good place. Swords is a good spot. Swords is a good little spot. It's a good part of Dublin. Eddie, next week, Kern. Yeah, he says that a good bit, doesn't he? Do you see Haney moving up? Not in the immediate future. He's going to need to eventually, because you should see the physical strength difference was real. Like, you've seen how much stronger Haney was in there compared to Kambosos. Big up to Devin, big up G-Man. You've smashed it with your channel. Very proud of you, brother. Thank you, my friends. Thank you, my brother. Brother in arms, Devin. You put in the work, but it's still very impressive, man. I appreciate that. I love seeing words like that. Just little encouragement and appreciation for it. I appreciate that to you, my man. We're brothers, man. Thoughts on the outcome of Haney versus Taylor at 140? Haney's too slick. Well, first off, DP44. I appreciate the fight for the £4.50. Thank you so much for that. Taylor would have his work cut out. But Taylor at 140, if he does the weight right, he can give. Again, he's good at getting inside, getting in at mid-range. And if he can do some great work there on Devin, no doubt. What do you think of Cordina's win last night? I think it's one of the best atmospheres I've ever seen. Nice to get big-time boxing back in Wales. Yeah, I did see the fight, and tremendous shot. Cordina, I'm going to talk about this more in review of the week, but don't take this the wrong way, the Cordina fans. Cordina, from the Rio squad, he was kind of, how would you describe it, the dark horse, because he really didn't have anything that jumped out at you in terms of, he wasn't exactly the most athletic, he wasn't the fastest, he wasn't the most explosive, although he's shown himself to be quite a good explosive puncher recently. He was kind of a jack of all trades, a master of none, as Hatman would say. So he kind of silently just went through the motions when you had other prospects like Fowler, who took a few L's, you Bawatsi, who's still going through the motions, not really doing much. Who else did you have? You Felix Cash, who's still kind of going through the motions. You had a lot of them from the GB squad who just kind of either fell flat or they're still just being slowly pushed along. Whereas Cordina just went about his job quietly and just a bit away. And you see, he's reaping the rewards. I didn't think he'd win a world title. I didn't think he'd beat. I thought this fight was a kind of up in the air fight. But if I had to pick, if you'd asked me on Friday, I would have said Ogawa. But fair play to him, and I think it's good for Wales. You know, Wales had Lee Selby as a world champion, but he didn't do much. Lee Selby's world title reign really annoys me, and a lot of people would say like you don't like Lee Selby. I don't mind Lee Selby. I think he was a good enough fighter for what he was. He was limited. I definitely think that, but he really had. Maybe it was the fact that he just wasn't a name. But when he had that title, he really did nothing with it. Like, he was champion for what, 4 years, and he did very little with it. All he did was just fight his mandatories. That was it. He never looked to unify. There was never talk of unifying. You know, he even had non-title fights because there was no mandatories at the time and there was no other people on the horizon. So, you know, they need someone they can get behind, and I hope Cordina is that man. I remember when they were 16, Haney has improved so much, especially in the footwork. Yeah, Haney's definitely improving, but I think that Shakur is just that level above. I think Joshua is going to do Fury style, a lot of leaning on Usyk. Potentially, he'll need to. But he can't outbox Oleksandr Usyk. And Haney showed he's a great fighter. However, Loma would make him look silly. Well, I don't know if he'd make him look silly, mate. I don't know if he'd do that, but he'd definitely picking Loma. So many great lightweight American fighters right now. Best it's been since the 90s. It's definitely great. I should say, like, I know what you meant, mate. I know. No, I had a feeling. I know what you meant there. But yeah, I agree. There's some great fights at lightweight to be made. And there's good guys coming up, as I said. You know, you just have to look at 130 and some of the guys who can come up there and cut it. You know, Navarrete as well. I mean, I'm sure he eventually would look to go to 135. People assume AJ tried to outbox Usyk in the first fight, but it wasn't the case. AJ tried to pressure Usyk behind his jab. Once his jab was taken away, AJ didn't know what to do yet. And it was pretty much gone for the first round. You know, AJ did try and pressure him in the mid-rounds, the 5th and 6th rounds, but I get the impression that Usyk was kind of just holding back a bit in them rounds as well. And see, here's the thing, right? People keep talking, and people keep saying, you know, AJ this, and he's got more gears and this, that. Usyk, to me, was so in control of that fight that it was a bit like Haney last night. You know there's more there. You know he really could have gone through the gears if he needed to, but he didn't. So I believe Usyk still has that in the tank. You know, people look at Usyk's performance against Joshua and they say it was brilliant, it was this, but if Asia can do this, it's like, hang on a minute. How do we know that wasn't Oleksandr Usyk at 60, 70%? How do, and I don't mean in terms of physically he wasn't right, but in terms of giving what he could have. We saw in the 12th round when he turned it on, he was nearly able to get AJ out of there. 135 is where the money is. Haney won't move up anytime soon. And you have to take that into consideration as well. You know, at 140, I mean, with Josh Taylor, I mean, God knows what's happening there. 1 minute he's moving up to 147, then he's fighting Jose Zepeda. I think the Zepeda fight makes more sense than going to 147, to be honest with you. I really do. What's next for Kambosos, assuming he probably takes a step aside? Your guess is as good as mine, mate. He's a good fighter, Kambosos. Don't let the loss last night deter you. He is a good fighter, but I don't know. I mean, would he want a confidence builder? I mean, it depends how long does he have any options that he could take the rematch at a later date? A bit like what Canelo's doing, have an interim fight against a similar style to Devin Haney and maybe see. I don't know. I really don't know what he does from there. Do you think Haney moving up to welterweight? Oh yeah, the welterweight definitely eventually. I've been to your West Coast, can't understand the accents. Well, you're not alone in that, mate. I mean, they really are. Like, even people from Dublin, I struggle to understand some of those West Coast accents. They always say, you know, how are you? Where are you from? From Dublin. Well, oh, yeah, That's what they're like. Yeah, you're not alone in that. Most people from like Dublin and places like that struggle with the West Coast. They breed them different over there. I'll just leave it at that. They definitely breed them different over there. Where was I? Oh, yeah. How you see Tank Haney going? Ooh. I like that fight, man. Similar to Kambosos' fight. No. I can see Tank Davis. Tank Davis, I think, is a lot more effective. I think he'd be a lot more effective with his pressure than George Kambosos. And I think that his timing. You have to think about Tank Davis's timing. He's very good timing. Whatever you want to say about Tank, he's very good timing. I could easily see a scenario where Tank Davis is getting outboxed. But here's the thing. Kambosos is a fair puncher. You know, I'm sure he's respectable power. But Tank Davis is almost like a Deontay Wilder of the lightweight division in a sense of he can, like that. One shot, boom, like that, it's over. You got any more collab videos coming up? Calibration videos, as in like by doing interviews with anyone? Hopefully, if he's free, before I head to the UK, I'd like to get Chris Andre. Me and him haven't done a video in a few months now, so hopefully I'll get him on. In terms of other documentaries, I have documentaries planned for this month. I'm working on one at the minute. This is the first one I'm going to do a script for. So I haven't done a script for the last two. It's just been proper, just speaking off the tongue. And I think that it's all right, but you make mistakes and you have to keep going and rethinking it. So I have a big one planned for this month. And yeah, I'll leave it at that. I'm working on it at the minute. What about, again, that's it. Like I said that, if you look at my watch along, I said there'll be a 116, 112 scorecard here. I was surprised there was two of them, but I said there'll be one of them. I had it 11-1. Couple of cards were too close last night, but you have to give it to the Australians for allowing their men to lose. Yeah, but I see Australia, I don't think has that pull in the boxing world. Who do you think becomes the next British world champion? That's a good question. Well, if you count the regular title, Daniel Dubois next week, if you count that, I don't. But if you want to count that, that's up to you. So Dubois, if you count that, if not, next British world champion. You see, a lot of these Rio guys, I don't think that it'll be anytime soon, because a lot of these guys, it's going to take them a couple of years to get up to that level. I don't see Boatsy beating Bivol. I don't see Yard beating the winner of Peterbia versus Smith. I'm just trying to think who else. Next British, as in like someone who is just going to be a new champion. If you're talking about a brand new champion, I don't know, but I would say Liam Smith might have a shot at picking up one of them 154-pound titles if Charlo vacates. So that could potentially be one of them. Yeah. He didn't look particularly good in that fight. No. Yeah, that guy, he didn't look good at all in that fight. Now I have to say, and I rate David Nyeka very highly, but I have to say he looked very poor in that fight. I agree with you there. That guy he was fighting was a part-time boxer, and if he had a bit more to him, he could have won that fight. He only lost by 1 point on one of the scorecards, and he finishes. I don't know if he'd necessarily be finished, but certainly the hype around AJ would dissipate. It's already dissipated a lot compared. Like, I'll never forget 2016-17. The hype with AJ was crazy. Or will he be protected for his brand? See, Golden Boy don't have that many stars, so they want to make sure that Ryan Garcia keeps winning and he keeps winning well. So they will take their sweet time with him, and they will try and keep him as. They'll wrap him up in cotton wool if they have to. I give it any notice after the fight. No, thank you, congratulations for either of them. Has something happened between the two? It's hard to say. I don't know yet. Normally, Eddie Hearn does come out and say it. He hasn't come out and said anything yet, has he? I'll just have a quick check on Twitter, because normally you would expect that. Eddie Hearn. So now look. Has he mentioned it? No. Interesting. No, he hasn't mentioned it. I would have thought he would have said something about Cordina now. That's an interesting one. It's a good spot, mate. Potentially Hearn maybe could be a bit salty that Haney is working with Aram. I know them two don't particularly have a lot of time for one another. Incredibly overrated. People think he will walk through Haney. He won't walk through Haney, but he's definitely. I'd be picking him right now. I would pick him. Hence why you can't do that. Yeah, Usyk has seen it all. He really has. I hope AJ isn't planning the box. Nor I. Well, that's Robert Garcia. I doubt that. Was a crazy week. Managed to meet Hearn, Benn, Cash, Richards, Galal, Sky, Ryder, Barry Jones. Big up to Barry Jones. Big up to Barry Jones every time. I hope they keep him on the zone. He's brilliant on this. Keep Barry Jones. Get rid of Costello. Get rid of Hardy Quinn. Pretty much get rid of the whole team except for Ade. And make Andy Lee an analyst. I'll keep reiterating that until it happens. Andy Lee is a better analyst than a commentator. The best thing Usyk has never really felt AJ's power yet. Could be the trump card. Usyk took a couple of right hands and he seemed all right in there, but I'd say he obviously knows not to. He's good defensively. He is good defensively. He knows what to do and what not to do. You think Tank Davis was signed for? I'd say he'd probably go on his own and probably Tank Productions or something like that, but work with Al Heyman at the same time. Yeah, they are. They are hard to understand. The North, I don't find the North as bad as the West, though, to understand. I know some of them can be really. I used to go out with a girl from Belfast years ago, and there was times where literally I really couldn't I used to just nod my head. Not because like I wasn't listening, just because I couldn't understand what she was saying. She was from Belfast, she was living down in Dublin. And there was a few times where she'd be talking to me and I'd be just like, just agreeing with her. I didn't know what I was agreeing to. It was just the accent is so strong and she talked real fast as well. So I'd just be kind of like, yeah, good to know. Only chance AJ has if Usyk lost a family member or a close friend in the war in his country, as fans have no idea if he has or hasn't. But if he has a chance, but then AJ's chances of winning dramatically. Usyk is the kind of guy where he really can just switch it off. That's one thing that's good about Usyk's mentality. He just has that switch. Yeah, Donegal accents are hard to understand. I'll agree with you there. They're not easy. They're really not easy. Does the Monster have a much better chance fighting this time? I'd give him. I'm picking him. My prediction video is up there if you want to go and have a look at it. I think it's one of my better prediction videos. And I'm just gonna plug that. Just plug the prediction video. It's there if you want to have a look. 95 in the building. People, just a quick one. 95 in the building. 43 likes. If you could, just smash the like button. We get it up to 50 likes. Who's your dark horse in the lightweight division? I don't really have a dark horse in that division per se, mate. I think that you got to say Haney is number one at the minute. Tank Davis, I think it's a good chance. I would give him a chance against Devin, as I would Loma. Please do it, Cav. I need to do a collab with him. What do I think of Michael Hunter, Hughie Fury? I think it's a good fight, mate. I like that fight. I think it's going to be an entertainment scrap as well. I'm going with Michael Hunter to win that fight on points. But it's a fight that I think both guys need. Michael Hunter needs to redeem himself. Because I'm sorry, mate, but like, you can't turn around and say you'll fight any heavyweight for free and then duck a final eliminator because the money is not right. You've literally just can't, you've done it there. So he has a lot of rebuilding to do. He really does. And I rate Michael Hunter, I do. I think he'll win this fight, but he's got a lot of rebuilding to do. When I seen he was on that card fighting Junior Fat, I just thought, holy mother of God, what is wrong with the country of Australia? I don't answer that, a lot of things. But really, so they've done things over the last 2 years that are so questionable, but they'll let Lucas Browne get in the boxing ring. Amazing. And the fact that he won, I mean, Junior Fan needs to hang them gloves up. No disrespect to the guy. He could be a lovely guy, but God almighty, you're getting stopped. I know Lucas Browne still has power, but Jesus Christ, people. And the problem with that is, right, is that you'll have someone like Hearn, you'll have someone like Warren who'll be like, checkbook out, get over here, have one of our prospects beat the crap out of you. I think Josh Taylor's next fight's got to be moving up. Now, I think he's set on Zepeda, which is a good fight in of itself, mate. I think AJ will be good warm-up for Wilder when he returns. Controversial one, this. I would still pick Wilder over AJ. Controversial one, that. I just can't help but feel Wilder's power will be the difference. Are you doing a watch along for Tuesday morning? I am indeed, man. I took the day off work for it. I took the day off work for that. So yes, watch along is going to happen Tuesday morning. I think the ring walks are about 11 or 12 in around. It might even be early, it might even be later than that. But if it's in around about midday, it's around about midday. So we'll probably go live at about 11 o'clock. And we'll see how it goes. But yeah, for definite, we're doing a watch along for that, 100%. What's happened to Callum Smith? Isn't he in the final eliminator? Or something like that. But look, I think Callum Smith, the hunger for him is gone. You can just tell that. He made so much money from that World Boxing Super Series. And he's just happy to pick up them paydays. Wish it was for Undisputed, so I do. I mean, like, Paul Butler, no disrespect to the guy, but this is a guy who got battered from pillar to post against that Rodriguez guy. You knew I knocked him out in 2 rounds, no problem. Now, you see, here's the thing. I thought about that as well. Funny you say that. I thought about that as well. I did. I actually thought about that as well. Now, obviously, I'm going to that fight. Well, I don't know if it's going to be Lucas Browne, but I really hope it's not Lucas Browne. I really hope it's not. Right. There we go. Eubank will do next. Well, it's a good question, mate. He was obviously looking for Kell Brook. Triple G, Canelo, so that's out of the question. I would imagine that the fact that Triple G has his 2 titles, and if he loses to Canelo, there's a good chance he may call it a day. So he may look to get into a position to fight for one of the vacant titles, potentially. But it's a strange one. I mean, I really don't know who we take at this stage, because there's obviously Sky and Michelin want to do a pay-per-view with Eubank, but a pay-per-view with Eubank isn't going to work with an average Joe. You know, they tried that a few years ago with ITV and it didn't work. You know, the undercards were quite good, but it just didn't work. And they charged only 10 quid for it. It was real cheap. But that didn't work. You need Eubank in there with someone with a bit of a name. Yildirim rematch, maybe. Who will take over once Bob Arum pops his clogs? Can't be, man. Honestly, like that guy, I swear to God, he's gonna hit 100. He's what, 90 plus? He's hitting 100, man. Was dreadful versus White. Honestly, like, I mean, he looked how you are losing to that guy is beyond me. In a round. Who's Benn fighting? They keep saying a big fight. It will be a big fight. I disagree. Well, apparently, it's not going to be Jose Ramirez. I heard the money wasn't right on the Ramirez and they weren't happy with the pay. So, I mean, your guess is as good as mine. I would say just go and fight McKinson. If you're not going to get anyone decent at world level, go and fight McKinson or fight Hooker. I'd imagine it's going to be one or the other. McKinson or Hooker. There's not really much. There wouldn't be much hype for the McKinson fight, but at least it's a domestic fight. You can sell it like that. But if it's not, you're not going to get Ramirez. Then, like, I don't think Eddie. I think Eddie Hearn knows he can't get away with doing another faded champion. Try as he might. So, I mean, I heard someone in a chat a week or two ago say they were looking at Terry Flanagan, and I hope to God that's BS, because I hope that's a lie, because God almighty, that I just know. He was overweight last night as well. See, he was in terrible shape last night. He still got the win. I'm in the northwest of Ireland in Tyrone. So I've never been to Tyrone. Come on, admit it now. It's hilarious. Yeah. Who wins the four-round exhibition? Oh, you got to go with Eddie Hearn, man. You got to go with Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn by first round KO. All the way, man. The Leonard Ellaby Hearn beef is funny. I can't lie. And the memes about Ellaby are just funny as hell. You know, memes are brilliant, aren't they? They really are. You can't beat memes. And the memes that people have about Leonard Ellaby are just so funny. Williams' world title is if he gets lucky like he did last time. He got it. Yeah. Lucas Browne KO was nice. It was a shock to my. I was watching that last night and I was kind of like half dazed because I'm still pretty tired from last night. I only got like 3 hours kip, and I was looking at that and I was like, "What did I just say? Am I saying shit? Or am I hallucinating because I'm so tired?" And then I was like, "No, it really happened." Ryan Garcia is a dark horse. I mean, with that athleticism potentially, but he makes so many mistakes defensively. Oh, that's a good question. I really don't know. I would probably, just based on experience, I would favour Cam Smith against both them guys. But both that's a good question, mate. You'd obviously, I'd say, have to offer him a serious amount of money to take that. We need a WTF Lucas Browne. Jesus, mate, I don't even know where to start with that. I could do a WTF on Lucas Browne, yeah. I know enough about his career, but damn. As a decent fighter, has never beat a decent fighter. He's a prospect. He can't crack an egg. Usyk is the first #1 pound for pounder, a heavyweight pound for pounder since Tyson in the 90s. He will get smashed. He will smash AJ out cold, though. So E-Machine's going with AJ. Did you see that Lucas Browne is ranked? What? WBA, though, to be fair, it's just so bizarre. I mean, I remember when Dubois fought Bogdan Dinu. Bogdan Dinu had 2 fights in 2 years, and he was, I think, #2 ranked by the WBA. Prince Patel will be the next British world champion. Doubt that. Completely doubt that. Where was I in that chat there? Wilder KOs AJ. Bad news, Eddie Hearn knows it. I suspect there's a very good chance he could, yeah. Cranberry juice is very good for the detox. Yeah, cranberry juice is, it's the business. Bang on about Australia, a horrible place, resembles a communist state, get out if you can. Man, here's the thing, right? Australia is a country where a lot of people from Ireland tend to go to. And even before the Holocaust, I was never tempted to go Australia. I don't know why. It never appealed to me. You know, and I've always said like I'd love to go a few different places, but that was one of the countries that I was just like I could never see myself ever going to, not even for a holiday. I could just never see myself going to Australia. And if look at the last 2 years in Australia, never in a million years will I go near that country, ever. Who lands first? That's pretty much what it is. Is Wilder pregnant? Yeah. I mean, I couldn't believe it when he said that. That was just the most effed up thing I've ever heard. Lucas Browne versus Verlaine. I mean, Verlaine fought that Riddell Broker guy. And Riddell Broker is a guy who, how old is he now? He's got to be in he's not in his late 30s, in his 40s. Way overweight. And Verlaine's going the distance with him. Do you plan on visiting the York House sometime? I'll tell you what, I'm actually thinking, I was looking at the York Hall on BoxRec, and there's 2 shows on. There's a show on Friday night when I'm in the UK, and I was actually thinking of maybe popping to that show. I was actually thinking about maybe going over to it because I've never been to the York Hall. I've been past it all right, but I've never been in it. Liam Smith versus Eubank. They might even do that, to be honest with you. Crazy. Browne by first round KO was upwards of. Hindsight is 2020, isn't it? Like, when you think about it, imagine putting like a fiver, just a cheeky fiver on Browne. How much you would have made from that on a first round KO. I think it's a bit harsh he should retire. Bear in mind, this is a guy who went 12 rounds with Joe Parker. I know, mate, I know, but I mean, that type of loss in that fashion, I really can't see it. Like, I mean, I think that's a really bad loss, and that's going to take some coming back from. At one of those Chinese heavyweights, they might very well. Zili Zhang. Yeah. And here, someone commented, and they're actually spot on if you think about it, that a lot of Parker's wins haven't aged very well. And you kind of got to agree with that. I mean, like, he got a win over Shondell Winters in 2020. And Winters is getting beaten way more convincingly by lesser opponents than that. He got a win over Junior Fa, and Lucas Browne knocks him out in a round. Who else does he beat? There's been a few. Takam, those with that win, you know. Takam's gone on to do a few bits, but he's been knocked out by guys not as good as Parker, like Chisora. Benn versus Boots. Man, come on. Boots Ellis will beat the crap out of Benn. Yeah, I doubt it very much. Are you up for coming on the stream for a bit? Are you up for me coming on the stream in a bit? It's a solo one tonight, mate. But I will probably do an open one during the week. And KO Boxing 2, you're welcome to come on. But tonight it's a solo one. I have it set up for solo. So if I'm setting it up for having guests on, I'll probably do that during the week. Because I don't mind doing the guests. And I do need to. I don't do it enough. But tonight it's a solo one, mate. Wilder made his name by rubbing his laced up gloves into Fury split eye. Yeah, Verlaine's not been doing great. Again, there's another one they'll try and do with Lucas Browne. Like, Lucas Browne's got himself some paydays as a result of that, to be fair to him. He can't take a lot. Ortiz had all over the place, and Fury dropped him loads. Who are we talking about here? He can't take a lot. Ortiz had, Wilder we're talking about. Yeah, I was wondering, who are we talking about? You think Fraser Clark could be fighting more often than he does? I think he's had injuries, though. That's the only thing about Fraser Clark. I think he's been injured. So that's one thing you got to take into consideration. Same to see. A shame we'll never get to see you and Hatman do a boxing duo chat together. Would be cracking. Couldn't Hatman just blur half of his screen or voice just for a chat? I wouldn't say never to that, mate. So you say never. And, you know, obviously I know Hatman quite reasonably well at this stage. And you say never, but I've had some direct messages with Hatman, so you never know. And look, if we did, it'd just be like this. You know, we could pop the old Ainsley on and do it like this. We wouldn't have to be on camera. So that's the good thing about StreamYard. If there's ever a time where I don't fancy going on camera or anything like that, I can easily just pop Ainsley on, and there you go. Same basic thing. You just get to see Ainsley. This is the start of Browne's ascent back to the, yeah. Chris Andre's breakdown was spot on. Yeah. And actually, funny enough, me and Hatman have done a video together, actually, by the way. We done one just before AJ Usyk. We done a video together on Hatman's channel. So we have done videos together. It's just time-wise. It's just time-wise with me and Hatman. We're both very busy. But of course, I'd love to get Hatman on. You never know. WBA are a joke. Browne said now he remembers how to use his right hand. He's going on a title run. Well, if you, of course, Browne's gone, man. Like, you know, he remembers it. I mean, it's always been there. So, I mean, I'm amazed he forgot it. But, hey, it's always been there, the right hand. People, 141 in the chat. If you could, 62 likes. If you could, smash the like button. Help your boy out. And if you're new to the channel, if this is your first time coming, hit the old sub button. 142. We've got 7,616 subs. I'd like to obviously get to 8K. React Poor could happen. Actually, I forgot React Poor. Yeah, Prince Patel ain't winning no title. Unless, like, he considers, like, a WAU title, which is something you never heard of. Yeah, I'm a world champion. Remember the WBU years ago? In the early 2000s, Warren tried to push that as a world title. Get back in the top 10 pound for pound if he beat Usyk. I never had him in the top 10 pound for pound anyway. Australia used to be a great country. Many wanted to move there. Now it seems a pathetic nanny state. Yeah. Australia, New Zealand, Canada, you know, baby Castro. Countries I'll never visit. No intention. Never really had an intention of visiting them anyway. Never really had much intention of visiting them countries anyway, to be honest. Was the punch illegal? Which punch now are we talking about? Do you know who Jack Catterall's fighting next? I don't know, mate. I don't know. It's not be Josh Taylor, I know that. When you come into the York Hall, I'm seeing if I can get tickets to one of the shows on the Friday, if I'm not busy or I'm not seeing anyone, then I might pop down to the York Hall on the Friday I'm over before the Saturday and go and see some of the fights on down there. I said it didn't age well in Jamie's live today. You were in the chat. I said it didn't age well. That was it. That was on one of my videos someone said it. But that was where I seen it. Who you vote for as a unionist from the NI? This may lead to me unsubscribing. Well, just let you know, I'm apolitical. I don't vote. I haven't voted since I was 18. I'm never going to vote again. So, it means nothing to me, man. I don't vote and I have no intention of sticking around in Ireland long term anyway. Definitely want to see White Wilder. I don't. I think I know who's going to win that. Gun to the head, who you pick, Bud or Spence? Gun to the head, who would I pick? I think, gun to my head, I would go with Bud slightly. I think he would keep it at range, use his jab, but I think he will take an absolute pace into the body from Spence. It's just a case of how well can he keep his shape and can he actually put a dent in Spence with his own power, which I think he can. Haney might be undisputed, but I'll never watch him. His career is going to be a long, boring reign. He's definitely the most entertaining, but he's definitely talented. Who will live longer, Bob Arum or the Queen? I don't even want to know, man. That's a good question. Yeah, that would be over in a couple of rounds. Wouldn't dare put him in with boots. He never would. Hatman is brilliant, man. Hatman is a legend. He really is. Well, Ian also went the distance with Brazil. He's got good fits for Browne. He has a good fit for Browne. 2 rated fighters can slug it out. Would be fun to watch. Browne, I don't think he's I don't think Valina is the most entertaining, to be honest with you. I don't know why they don't do Browne versus Parker. Yeah, they tried to do that a few times, but it just never seemed to happen. For whatever reason, they tried to do that fight a few times from Parker. Even after he lost his title, they tried to do it a few times. I don't think he's 6'6". I think he said he's like 6'2", 6'3". But he was a heavyweight, so he says. I've never seen Hatman in person. And that's, again, I've never seen Hatman in person, so I don't know. But I do know from what he said, he's in around the 6'2" mark and stuff like that. But I've never seen him in person. Is there no stadium fan for Eddie Hearn's back? Not this summer, no. Not this summer. He said he's going to bring it back next summer. Fight camp. Mick Collins' next fight is in the indoor arena. Yeah, this is a weird one. Originally it was going to be in Falls Park. Originally it was said that Tunde just started crying in his life because I said Yard won't get the fight in October. Yeah, Tunde is a piece of work. Hatton made a lot of WBU. That was the one. His face on his YouTube profile. What contrast the levels between Haney's corner advice his dad and Tiafimo's corner? Haney's advice in the corner was absolutely spot on. Man, Haney's dad understands boxing. He's got a good boxing brain. But Lopez is just a hot-headed loudmouth. That's all he is. Lopez Sr. He's a hot-headed loudmouth who just thinks the son can walk on water. That's all it is. I don't know. I have no idea. Big up to Byron. That's Ali, LOL. But that's a cartoonist face. Getting into a big row about Hatman's face. Would you like to see a boxing transfer window work? That would not work at all, mate. I can't see that working at all. I would not see that working at all, mate. I can't. As in a boxing transfer, like from different promoter to promoter, that wouldn't work at all. No way. Bud will have to box Spence, give him plenty of movement, go to the body and step up to the pace late. He takes too much punishment at 140 and has to stop. A gun to head, without the gun, Bud by KO. I wouldn't go by KO, I'd go points. Yeah, I'd like to see that fight, truth be told. Why does Hatman's subscriber count increase slowly these days? I don't think his subscriber count increases slowly at all, man. I think like if you go on Social Blade, you'll see he gains like 200-300, sometimes more, 500 subs a month. So to me, that's not slow. That's not slow at all, in my opinion. I think one of the reasons it's slower is because the bigger your channel gets and the more numbers it gets, YouTube stops updating it as quick. So like for me, I can get 20 subs in a day and you'd know because it would go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. You know what I mean? In terms of 20 or 10, 20, 30. Whereas when you're in the kind of, when you hit 10,000 or more, it only updates from basically every 100, if you know what I mean. So it's not going to be as quick. Boots versus Ortiz, Boots definitely. Browne is a bum, which shows how terrible Fa was. I mean, that was bad, man. Joyce, way too slow for Fury. The jab, I think, from Joyce will cause Fury issues. Get wild the back. Shane, PBC and Hearn hate each other. Yeah, PBC and Hearn are really, unless they really, really, really have to, they ain't ever going to work together. I can't see it anyway. I'd be very surprised if either of them ever work together in the future. I would be Mate, I can't see it. I can't see it. I think Eddie Hearn and Al Heyman, they're setting their ways. They're really setting their ways. Bivol, Beterbiev slightly. Fight camp is crap anyway. As if no fights to make this year, I don't think. I don't think they can get the fights out there. I don't think they have the I think they've already used most of their talent already this year. Big up to Joe Stunner Boxing every time. Shout out to Joe. People, if you want to watch a good channel, Joe Stunner Boxing, get him up to 600 subs. LG, how much have I missed? We're about 50 minutes in, and we've got about another 20 minutes to go. Will we finally see? I reckon we might. I reckon that's a money fight. They'd still both go for that. Surely White won't go to the WBC route again. Which one think he'll go for? I would say, honestly, I'd say Dylan White probably would go to the WBC route again. No, he probably would. He'd probably just be thinking, what's the point? I've already ranked with them. Why not? I'd say he probably would go that route again. Hatman posted videos of hitting the head bag way more, I think, on his Facebook group. Oh, jeez, man, I haven't been on that. I haven't used Facebook in, 3 years? It's been a long time. How much have I missed? Not much, man, not much. That's Ali on his profile pic. Ain't no sunrise when Tank's gone. Do I follow IndyCar? Yeah, I don't follow it as religiously as I do F1. But I do like Indy 500. Some of the tracks like Detroit are pretty good. You know, Daytona and stuff. I would follow IndyCar, not as religiously. IndyCar, it's more pure racing because the cars I think are all equal, and there's none of this BS with tire saving, energy saving, stuff like that F1 has, which I don't really like because I'm a purist F1. I like the old F1 where it was just drive the bloody car as fast as you can. But yeah, I do like Indy. Crawford Spence looks like fight of the year, but I could see Crawford making it a boring fight. I can't see it being a boring fight between those two. Can't see it. Who would you put Joyce in there with on July the 2nd? Well, I got to put the promoter's hat on. So as a fan, I'd love to see him in a good competitive fight. I'd love to see him in there against someone like Hellenius or someone like that, someone real competitive, but I don't think we're going to get that. I got to put the promoter's hat on. I want Joe Parker versus Joe Joyce on pay-per-view in September. Am I going to put Joe Joyce in there and risk him losing? The answer, of course, is no. So who am I going to put him in there with? As much as I wouldn't do this, but it's Frank Warren. Could he put Lucas Browne in there? I wouldn't put it past them. I really wouldn't put it past them. But I suspect potentially could be Manuel Char. They might get him. They might drag him in. Manuel Char, they'll just say, oh, he's a former world champion. They might look at the top 10 or top 15, and they might get someone like maybe that Peter Mattis guy, someone like that. Let's have a look-see at the old. Let's have a look at the heavyweights. Let's have a look at the heavyweights and just see who kind of out of the top 100 likely you get Joe in there with, because he's 36, right? So Joe Joyce 36. I would say maybe Kuzman they put him in there with. Char probably. Who else is there? Jared Washington, I wouldn't rule that out either. There are three guys I could easily see him putting them in there with. There's always Johan Duapas, but he's already lost only recently, so I can't see that fight happening. And I think that's pretty much it. I think it'd be kind of some guys like that, guys you've not really heard of, and some of them, maybe I saw Erkin Tepper's name there. I wouldn't even rule him out, to be honest with you. But yeah, they're kind of guys. I hope it's a good fight. I hope it is. I think someone like Hunter can cause for exactly. I'm picking him over Huey. I'm picking him over Huey. Do you think Velasquez would beat Benn? I think he does. He never gets a mention. Yeah, I think Mean Machine would give Conor Benn fits. And here's the thing, right? Mean Machine is massive at welterweight. He's huge. He would dwarf Conor, make Conor Benn look like a dwarf. He is huge. So believe me, I mean, that's a dangerous fight for Conor Benn. Very dangerous. It's not uncommon, to be honest with you. It's more common in places like Australia, Panama, Puerto Rico, places like that. They do 5-rounders. You know, in Panama and places like Puerto Rico, they don't do 12-rounders. They only do 12-rounders in title fights. They don't even do 10-rounders. They do 11-rounders. Imagine that. But yes, they do 11-round boxing matches. I don't know why. It just seems a bit weird. Why not just do a 10-rounder and a 12-rounder? But yes, I have seen 5-rounders before. I have seen that. The Kozak Usyk will win. At the gym right now, G-Man, was AJ Usyk announced. To be announced this week, mate. To be announced this week. According to Eddie Hearn. According to Eddie Hearn. How we doing in this chat? How we doing? 140 in the build and shout out. Lads, we're 19 likes. We're 19 likes off 100 likes. We have 81 likes. Could you smash the like button, help your boy out, get us up to 100 likes. And if you haven't, hit subscribe. Help me get to 8K as quick as I can. But if you could, people, smash the like button if you haven't already. The only reason I ask is it pushes the channel up higher in the algorithms and it gets more people. It'll just recommend this stream a lot more to people. That's why I always ask. What fighter right now in boxing would you say is the closest thing to an invincible fighter? I wouldn't say anybody. No one's invincible. No one is invincible. The answer, I wouldn't even say there's no such thing as an invincible fighter. Everyone can get bet. There's always going to be a style. Boots versus Crawford, gun to your head. I'd still go with Crawford to beat Boots. Likewise, Spence. Who is your favorite F1 driver right now? Max Verstappen, all time. Michael Schumacher. My two, probably like two of the most, my favorite. I like the fact that it's Leclerc and Verstappen for the title because I think they're two of the best drivers in F1. Leclerc just makes too many mistakes, and he's been prone to. He's done that for years now, and it doesn't seem to be addressing it. And that's going to, I reckon, against Verstappen, that'll cost them. Gee, you think Mercedes are going to fix the issue with their car? It's a tricky one, mate, because it's not a straightforward fix. I mean, the issue with them is it's porpoising, which means it's bouncing on the straights. If they raise the ride height, it's going to affect with the aero. So they're in kind of a compromise situation. Do we raise it, but then it messes our aero up, which is going to compromise the car in the high speed, the high downforce tracks. But it's like they're in Baku this week. That has the longest straight on the F1 calendar, and that has two really, really long straights. That car is going to be undrivable on that track. That car is literally going to be undrivable on Baku. It has the longest straight in the F1 calendar, and it's going to be undrivable. So, and I'd expect Max Verstappen to dominate Baku. He's pretty good at Baku, and that car is quick in a straight line. That's interesting. Red Bull were never known for that. Kambosos versus Linares. Oh yeah, Kambosos wins that. I think Linares needs to call it a day. I don't know, man. Crow Park, Katie Taylor, Serrano. I haven't heard anything. No, I hope not, mate. But I wouldn't. The fact that he won last night, I wouldn't rule out a promoter like Eddie Hearn. I reckon to be on the phone saying Johnny Fisher in there with Lucas Browne. Wouldn't rule it out. Ah, this is a good one. Shields Marshall, who wins? Savannah Marshall wins by knockout. Who is this so-called bigger name than Kalnaki? Chisora is fighting next. Is that true? Is that true? They're not fighting Kalnaki. It's a bigger name. Well, I like the Kalnaki fight from a stylistic point of view, but Jesus, I mean, I dread to think. Are they going to get him in there with Ortiz or someone? Do you see Tank versus Rowley eulogy? UK promoters need to do something similar to build their fighters into pay-per-view stars. I just can't see any real pay-per-view stars on the come-ups. Maybe Ben Whittaker, but that's about it. Diaz versus Kambosos. I've never rated Jojo. Never really rated Jojo too highly. I would go with that. I'd go with Kambosos. Yeah, so did I. I mean, I'd say just put him with Michael McKinson. If Eddie Hearn's not going to pull the trigger and get like a Kabalaskas or someone like that, put him with McKinson. Sell it as a domestic dust up. Because Benn's never had one. Sell him with McKinson. Put him in there with McKinson. What do you think of Arsenal back Makhmadayev? First person to genuinely knock down and hurt back. Yeah, I've seen that. Crazy. Very good fighter. Very good prospect. Keeping an eye on Makhmadayev. Or Makhmadayev. Not going to happen. But I reckon Chisora will. Or not Chisora. Joyce wins that. Hearn will clash. Yeah, he will. Wait and you see. He will. He. It's not just Eddie Hearn. Other promoters have done that. But and you see, here's the thing. If Eddie Hearn did that, that would make him. So he's the guy who's the women's boxing, you know, the big promoter. And he would do something like that. Put on a fight that would clash with one of the bigger fights. And then would say he's the kind of the guy who gives the women the shots. But then he put a pay-per-view. He put a fight on the same night. They do numbered rounds, such as 5 rules, to protect any potential draws with your early B-side. Yeah. It's very rare you see it, but they do occasionally happen in boxing, yes. What do you think of Haney being paid? $4.5 million, what Kambosos was paid for the fight. And the purse would be the exact same for the rematch if activated. He basically knew he was taking the B-side. But he was willing to do it, which is something that I admire about Devin Haney, because a lot of fighters aren't willing to do that. Ade hinted fights on Sky, surprised the zone haven't signed it. You're not surprised at all, mate. And I'm pretty sure like it was pretty much a done deal. It was going to be on Sky. It was pretty much a done deal that was going to be on Sky. I appreciate that. If other people could smash their like as well, I'd appreciate that. 2 years from now, which of these fighters will be at the top? Tank, Javante, Spence, Garcia, Lopez, Stevenson, Benavidez, Haney, Charlo. I guess Charlo would be heavier. Both Charlos, different weight divisions. I mean, God knows what Jamal's going to do. Benavidez, light heavy. Haney, 140. Stevenson, undisputed at 130, now at 135. Lopez, God knows. Garcia, again, God knows. Boots champion at welterweight. Tank 140. And Spence 154. Will they put Chisora on AJ card, or will they milk him for another pay-per-view? No, they'll put him on. He can't do a pay-per-view, I wouldn't imagine. Hi, can I get a shout out? Shout out to Liquid in the front, Poker in the rear. Liquid in the front, Poker in the rear. There you go. Shout out to you, man. Anyone can be beaten. Yep. My favorite F1 track. Probably Spa or Suzuka. I love fast tracks, and I love tracks that punish drivers because I'm old school. So probably Spa or Suzuka. I like the old Silverstone, the old 2009 Silverstone. I prefer that to the one we have now. It was just better. It was just better. In boxing analogy, what stage is Hamilton at? What do you mean in terms of boxing analogies? Like, in terms of what, I don't really get it. What do you mean? Like, in terms of Hamilton, what stage is he at? I would say Hamilton's in the twilight of his career in terms of like where I see him as a driver. Who are your favorite YouTube channels? In general, or just boxing? In boxing, obviously Hatman, Chris, Dell, Jamie, I watch Joe. I watch a few boxing channels, to be fair, but obviously like Hatman was the first I ever watched. Ade, of course, and I watched Ade back in 2000. Well, when I watched Ade first, he was still doing Box Talk. He was with Ryan. And then when they stopped doing Box Talk, I actually thought Ade gave that up completely because I didn't realize he went and started his own channel. So I only realized, I think it was only after Hatman shouted Ade out that I realized he was doing his own thing because he stopped Box Talk. I think he went solo on Box Talk, I think in 2017. And then he kind of just stopped with Box Talk, the Box Talk channel anyway. And then he went solo. And I only found out when Hatman, I think, mentioned him in late 2017, early 2018, that Ade was back doing it. And then that's when I found it. I was like, I didn't realize Ade. I think Ade only had like 5k subs at the time, or a similar subscriber count to mine. Thoughts on the fight, about this fight next week? I think Dubois wins, personally. I definitely think Dubois wins that fight. Garcia ain't bringing nothing to the table. Usyk wins by knockout. I'm picking Usyk. G-Man, I'm not a fan of F1, but I find it interesting. Is the Netflix show a good getaway into the sport? No. It has some good moments, but they've dramatized that. Like Max Verstappen, they made him out to be a right dickhead in the first series, and he's not like that. How would I say the best way to get into F1? You see, it's hard for me because I've just raised with it. So I've always just known about it. But watch some of the Michael Schumacher documentaries on Netflix. There's a really, really good one that was released last year. Watch that and or watch the Sena movie. The movie Sena is a great movie. Everyone seems to hate Hamilton. He's probably an Adrian Browne. Hamilton doesn't do himself any favors, so I'll just leave it at that. Kambosos takes step aside. Yeah, I reckon that's what's going to happen. I really think Marshall Battershields, yep. I'm mildly surprised if she doesn't stop. I'd be astonished if she doesn't win. I'm the same. I can't see anything other than the Savannah Marshall win. Next big fight, those curtains VR Mum's Beef contains. Oh, those curtains, if people hate them. I know that. Come on, the next big one as it stands right now is Usyk AJ. Yeah, that's the next big one. How do you see Bivol Canelo rematch going? I could see it going exactly the same, to be honest with you. I'm probably going to say it exactly the same. Am I the only one who isn't high on Hatman? I started watching boxing YouTube commentaries through a blog called Boxing Gossip. Yes. Boxing Gossip. I think Tom was his name. I remember him. He finished up in 2018, which is sad because I actually really enjoy. Here's the thing. I very seldom agreed with Tom. He had a good boxing brain, but me and him viewed fighters very different. We had very different taste in what we look for in fighters. So I disagreed with him a plenty. And I wasn't doing videos at the time. But I always respected his opinion. And he was very good. I don't know why he gave it up. For reasons I still don't fully know. But It was sad that he actually gave it up because I really liked watching Tom. And he gave it up 4 years ago. His channel was, I think, near 8K. In fact, I think his channel was similar to what mine is now when he gave it up, which is a crazy thought, actually. Think that I've got, and now he's lost a lot of them subs. But yeah, I miss Boxing Gossip was good. I really enjoy Boxing Gossip now, I have to say. And to me, it was just a shame that he called it quits. I don't know why, and obviously his decision is with him, but I miss seeing the old Boxing Gossip video. Big up G-Man, come on. Then cards are on the table at the stand. So you got AJ Usyk by knockout. Yo, ESPN dropped the ball on the audio. Did they? You couldn't hear the crowd. I didn't see. I had the commentary muted. Compared to as a fighter, who would Lewis Hamilton be compared to as a fighter? Who would I compare Lewis Hamilton to as a fighter? That's a good question. That's a very good question. Who would I compare Lewis Hamilton to as a fighter? Tremendous driver. I would probably compare him to Floyd Mayweather. Because he's a tremendous driver, but just as a person, just not for me. Can you go easy on those curtains? Yeah, people don't like them. You get old overnight. Lewis Hamilton, you get old overnight. He's just not got the car. And George Russell is just driving it better. Do you think Browne will get the Parker fight now? Wouldn't shock me. Well, Parker, if you want an interim fight, there you go. Box talk was excellent. It was. Where's the piss bottle? The piss bottle is now empty. There's a little bit in it, but it's pretty much empty. Those curtains have seen better days. I do need to just... One of these days, I'll go out and buy one. Best American fighter under 150. It's got to be Shakur. Well, technically, Shakur Boots, one or the other. What happened to Wingy? I don't remember. I watch very seldom of Wingy. I watch very seldom of Wingy. Where's that other question? You think Boxing Beats and Rhymes underrated channel? He kind of does his own thing. He does those kind of weekly. Actually, I do review of the week, and he kind of does them all in one go. And look, Beats does his own thing. He's got like what 13K subs. So he's doing well enough. Are you still doing true crime videos? I will be. That's for definite. It's just getting the time to get them together, mate. Ethan, are you doing a watch along? No. Not because I don't want to. It's just Don King. It's a Don King card, and he copyrights the hell out of people who do even reviews for them, so I won't be doing that. Verstappen pisses me off when he kicks off with his team, do things. Don't get why he's got a bad attitude. He's like a child. He's just very competitive. He's extremely competitive. And that's what I think is the problem with Verstappen. It's not even a problem. It's a good thing to have. So Verstappen's just extremely competitive. He wants to win. And he knows he's got the talent. And when his team... Like, look at Leclerc. Leclerc gets so animated on the radio when he messes up. And Leclerc's too hard on himself as well. That's one thing about Leclerc I don't like. I mean, like, I like Leclerc. He's a great driver. He's a cool guy. But he's too hard on himself. When he makes a mistake, you can tell it really bothers him. And you can tell that plays on him. You can tell that. You can tell Leclerc is that kind of character. When he makes a mistake, it's playing on him. The thing I don't like about AJ Usyk too is that I think it's going to be points from the off. No, I think it's a knockout, definitely. Yeah, I like all them channels. And obviously, as you can tell, I'm trying to kind of incorporate some of what they do into mine with the documentaries. Kambosos got exposed. I don't think he's got exposed. I just think that he was just beaten by a better fighter. Jake wins that, I think. Where are we? Where are we in the chat? I'm missing like loads of these. The zone commentary. Yeah, man, like that, you know, that's what it is, man. I don't really watch. That's why I do watch alongs for most of the zone cards, because I just can't be arsed listening to that commentary. I've not really watched the YB, to be honest. I know who he is, but I've not really watched him. Yeah, that's an interesting one. That's a very interesting question. I'm hoping he did that as a kind of give Daniel Ricciardo a kick up the backside kind of comment, because obviously Ricciardo is a tremendously talented driver. You know, when you look at Ricciardo, his style, this is what I mean about, like, when you're talking about drivers, you know, people talk about boxing styles. Well, drivers in F1 have driving styles, and you can tell his style doesn't suit that car. Ricciardo likes an oversteery car. You can tell that. He likes an oversteery car, and that McLaren is an understeery car. It's got a good rear, but it's got a very specific front end, and you can tell he doesn't like that. You can tell he doesn't like that. Ricciardo, when he was at Red Bull, that car suited him. When he went to Renault, he said by his own admission that it didn't have the same grip as the Red Bull, but it drove the same. It just didn't have the grip, not the mechanical grip, not the downforce. This McLaren is a different thing altogether. Like you see Kimi Räikkönen, when he was driving for McLaren, he had that car the way he wanted it. When he went to Ferrari, that car was understeer, and he doesn't like understeer. So he had to change that Ferrari to suit him before he started really taking a foothold. Okay, KO of the year so far has to be Cordina at the moment. No. I have to. That Lee Wood knockout, it's going to take some topping. Do you rate Ramirez? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And I think he can really have a good win. I'm not picking him over Bivol, but I think he has a good shot against Bivol. A big up to Nate. Can you imagine the damage Fury would do to Francis Ngannou? I can imagine that he would beat the living crap out of him. Where would AJ be in your top pound if he beats Usyk? I mean, pound for pound is very subjective to me, but I've never really put heavyweights in pound for pound. And I don't really do it, to be honest with you. Anyway, I've never really been one for doing pound for pounds. And no is the end. They need to keep that. The history with it, they need to keep it. Get rid of France. Paul Ricard is garbage. And get rid of, there's no good racetracks in France. People say Manicourt is better. Manicourt is just as bad. In fact, Manicourt is probably worse. Manicourt is probably a worse track than Paul Ricard because that track is just all long corners and it just one straight. That track is even worse for overtaking than Paul Ricard. Lee Wood, KO of the year. Yeah, Lee Wood. That KO, it was just the nature of it and the manner of it and how it came. It was a real kind of save your ass KO. It was just, man, that was something else. That KO was something else. Would you ever do watch-alongs for F1? Actually, that's an idea. That's something I need to think about. You see, a watch-along for F1, I have to make an F1 channel for that, but that would be something I'd be interested in doing. Maybe it would be something to do sometime. Because some of those F1 races, I mean, I enjoy the hell out of them. But you have to start an F1 channel from scratch. And I don't, people think I know a lot about F1. Some of those F1 YouTubers, they know way more than I do. Way more. Huey at this stage would definitely beat Chisora. G-Man versus Richard Dwyer. Shout out to him, man. He's a legend. Man, big up to Richard Dwyer every single time, man. Every time. My guy is a legend. He's an OG in YouTube. He's been doing this since, I think, Dwyer started, if I'm not mistaken, was it 2010? Maybe even earlier than that is when he started. So, my guy Dwyer, he's been going at it for years and years and years, man. Big up to Richard Dwyer every single time. Big up. What I'm going to do is, people, how long are we at? We're at an hour and 13 minutes. So, I'll probably go for a little while longer and then call it a day. Best F1 channels. I listen to The Race and Formula World. There's an F1 channel, a guy called Tomo F1. I like him. He does some good videos. That's mainly it. And some of them I don't really like because they're kind of new age fans and they have a very kind of different, they view F1 a very different way than I do. You know, they view it as a case of, we need to drive these drivers to drive a motorway in a straight line, have them bubble wrapped. And I'm like, it's dangerous sport. Cop on. Let them race. I heard in another podcast that the fight between Haney and Kambosos is a weird one, as they're both fighting for an undisputed title, but neither are considered 1 and 2 in the same division, according to them. Do you agree? I would have still probably said Lomachenko was probably the best at lightweight going into that fight, and the jury is out on number 2. So yeah, that's a good point. You think we need 3-minute rounds will help women's boxing? Yeah, definitely. I think that would help, but they need smaller gloves too. Jimmy, was it weird the day before Sena died? Roland Ratzenberger died in qualifying on the same track. Unbelievable. And Rubens Barrichello nearly died on the Friday. He swallowed his tongue at the Valianti Bassa, which that's now the pit straight now. Where the pit straight in Imola is, that's where that corner was. And yeah, it was That was a horrible weekend. And Imola back then was a really fast track. It was really dangerous. Like, it was super fast. Crazy. But yeah, I remember I was only a baby when that happened. But I wasn't even 1 year old when that race weekend happened. But yes, Sena's death was tragic. Changed the sport. I mean, that was the high. That's essentially, that would be like, and hopefully this doesn't ever happen, but that would be like Lewis Hamilton dying now in the next race. Seriously, that's what it was like for the sport. You're talking about the biggest star in the sport at the time dying. And the way the Italians behaved in that was absolutely appalling. Like, if you look at the Roland Ratzenberger crash, he was dead on impact. He died in that. He was dead on impact. You could tell. And they didn't. And if the rule is in Italy, if you die on the track, if you die as a result of that crash, that whole race weekend is cancelled. They will. It's done. The event's pulled. And they didn't. They took him out of the car and they pronounced him dead in the hospital. So the race would go on the next day. If you look at that, he was dead when he hit that wall. He was dead. He was gone. So that whole weekend should never have happened. Never ever have happened. Like the new video on hype jobs. Who's next? Obviously, I've got to do Pricey. Sorry, Pricey, but it's just gonna happen. You just know it's just gonna happen. Pricey has got to be one. There's a good few. I'm not going to spoil it, but obviously Pricey is one of them. That's got to be. You're not a fan of sporting icons? Are you subscribed to Hatman on Patreon? I am indeed. Subscribe to him on Patreon. I've been subscribed since day one, since the end of 2017. I've been subscribed to Hatman. Very interesting views on the world we're living in. I agree with pretty much everything Hatman says on the world now, to be honest with you, mate. You know, since day one, the minute I heard he was doing that podcast, I knew kind of early on me and Hatman had very similar ways of thinking. And yeah, you know, it's the way the world is. Like, you just, as Hatman said, you just got to make the best of what you can do and just future-proof yourself. And that's what I'm trying to do. I haven't heard, mate. I hope to God they did. I hope to God they paid him. You know, did anyone hear about Lou DiBella basically stopping this fight from going out in Russia? Absolutely. He is such an idiot, that guy. He wouldn't sell the fight to anywhere in Russia. So if you were from Russia and you wanted to watch the fight, you couldn't. He's just such a paisley child. Josh Kelly, hype job. I'm working on it. I'm trying to get a fighter. I'm not going to do it all on the UK. No, Eddie Hearn won't pay the kid. It's disgusting. It's crazy. It's crazy. I've never seen anything like it in the last few years for the Virtue. It's bizarre. I've never seen anything like it. I really haven't. It's bizarre. And the world is a rabbit hole. Yeah, man. But saying that, Jack makes a good point there. Him against Conor Benn, I'd still give him a very, very good shot. I'd still give him a very good chance against that. So I don't know if you heard it, mate, but basically, after he fought Canelo, his purse was withheld because of the sanctions on Russian fighters. So at the time, about a week after he fought Canelo, he hadn't been paid. Now, I don't know if that situation has been resolved, but I know his purse was withheld because of the sanctions on Russia. And again, I mean, like, what the hell? Like, what does Bivol have to do with any of that? It's just unreal. It's just unreal. I hope he's been paid. I really do. I hope to God he's been paid. But I haven't heard anything since. So I will maybe have a look at that later and have a look. And hopefully he's been paid. I really do. I really do. But yeah, that came out about a week after he beat Canelo. That his purse was withheld, or it was to do with the sanctions, basically. To do with the sanctions. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Who would I like to see Wilder face next? I'd say they're getting him with Helenius and then probably put him in with Ruiz. Wouldn't mind seeing him in Ruiz, actually. I think he beat Ruiz, though. But I wouldn't mind seeing that fight. I think that fight could be fun. I definitely think that fight could be fun. People, I've gone about the hour and 20. So I'm going to call it a night here because I've got other stuff. I've got to record review of the week, get that out tomorrow. But we'll definitely we'll get the stream out on Tuesday for the watch along for A New Way Donaire 2. That's for definite. for now, I'll leave you with that, people. We've 119 in the building. If you could smash the old like button on the way out, help your boy out. We had a fun stream. I enjoyed this live stream. I really did. I enjoyed this one. I really did. This was a fun little live. Gone for a little over an hour. And thank all you guys. You know, you're thanking me. You're the guys who give me the questions. So I'm not talking to myself for an hour and a half. Perfectly timed. There you go, man. There you go. But yeah, no, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Appreciate you guys. Because you guys are the guys who are asking me the questions. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have this channel. 118 in the building. I mean, look at that. I love seeing it. I love it when the numbers hit over 100 on these streams. It's crazy. But people, as always, appreciate yous every time. You know that. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. Obviously, I'll get the I will get the review of the week out for you guys. And I'll chat to you then. So peace, people.